Hello, dear friends. Here we are. 10 exercises. 10 exercises on peacemaking skills. Yes, we are here today. This is the 10th night or day, depending on where you are in the world. And we are here with you with the single opportunity of broadcasting this conversation on how we can exercise to achieve peacemaking skills. How have you been feeling, my dear friends? The connection there through. I hope you are. I'm testing right here. Yes, it looks like everything is working so well. And today we're going to talk about how to seek refuge in, uh, in our lives. And you're invited to join us, right? We have a beautiful community here. And today, to help us understand more about the deep message that Emmanuel brought to us in the book Living Spring by the through the psychography of Chico Xavier. Actually, this book, just so you have an idea, just occurred to me to give you all an idea about when this book was brought to life. 1956. And how current this message is. It's the mercy of God that these illuminated minds have prepared these messages that can give us so much nourishment in these critical times on the earth. It's not only about the earth, it's about each one of us. And to help us understand it, we have here Andrea Marshall-Netto. How are you, Andrea?
Hello, Vanessa. Hi, everyone. It's
Thank
such
you.
a pleasure to be with you guys tonight. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And we know the team, Marcelo and Andrea are there. I know Marcelo is there too. And we are going to call him for another opportunity. Hopefully, he's going to be available too to be with us and help us break down messages. Right, Andrea?
Yes, definitely.
For those, I know all of you know Andrea, but if anybody is watching this on demand, YouTube, or through the radio, the app, Andrea Marshall-Netto is a member of the um, Conscious Living Spirit Society, right? In Miami,
Spirit.
Florida.
Yes.
The Spiritist group. What is the website again, Andrea, for
It's
those who are listening?
www.cl consciousliving.sg.us. CLSG.us. Just the abbreviation.
Thank you. Thank you. And she also participates in the Spiritist Federation in Florida. She also uh, helps and coordinates the efforts together with Marcelo-Netto of the Odyssey of America, which sells books like this, indispensable for our lives, right? odysseyofamerica.com, and currently Leal Publisher, the publisher of the Mansion of the Way, of the efforts of all the books that came through Divaldo Franco and others. Now, kindly share the websites for us, Andrea, so people know of it.
Thank you, Vanessa. Yes, lealpublisher.com for the books in Portuguese and in Spanish coming up, and in English, some of them that are already translated and released. And also Odyssey of America, that's EDICEI of America.com. So both of those websites. We also receive a lot of emails and questions about the books. We are always open to answer any of the questions that the readers might have, or people that have questions about what they should recommend. So we are always there willing to help out and suggest the books.
Wonderful, Andrea. We are just checking also when Andrea is saying about the app. So right now, Andrea, before we begin, we say hi to those whom we can see. And forgive me if I cannot see everybody here, because sometimes the Be Live TV has a glitch, but I'm going to look right here in the app to make sure that I got you all for those who are here for us live. Our beautiful Leia Severo. Thank you, Leia, for being with us and helping us with Cardiac Radio as well. Karina, beautiful Karina, our psychologist from Brazil. Thank you for being with us. Felipe, how are you, Felipe? There in Texas. Our dear Sunshine, also doing beautiful works at Cardiac Radio. Coming about soon, the works are going to be released here at Cardiac Radio. They're in California, working together with the beautiful group, the Bezerra de Menezes Spiritual Healing Group in Sacramento. And Chris Costa from the Bay Area. How are you? And Ceisa, how are you? And I know Adilson is here too. Our Angelita is traveling to work in a beautiful trip to Madagascar, together with Wagner Moore and many others, to help the Fraternity Without Borders. So if you want to help the families, especially the orphans, friends, there is no explanation to what it is, the feeling of having no father and mother when you are little. I don't want to know what it is, but we want to help. We want to help, and you can help. Minimize the suffering, relieve. Don't judge, don't think anything, but I can bring relief. And you can bring relief by buying the t-shirts. Leia Severo is here, and she has been volunteering to take the orders for the t-shirts with the name Fraternity Without Borders in English and the logo. Okay? You can help quite a lot. Or go to the website fraternitywithoutborders.org. Right, Andrea? What a
Yes,
cause, huh?
it's a beautiful cause, actually. Leah, when she was talking about doing this work with Angelita, I put it on my Facebook, and it's amazing how people reacted, because this project is really awakening hearts about the needs of others, especially the children in Africa and Madagascar. Now I know they're doing other work to try to establish what we take for granted daily, such as clear drinking water. So it's really wonderful. And then we also have two members of our Centers Conscious Living that are headed to Madagascar as well, that are partaking in this new initiative. So we're so proud of the members of our groups as well. And I hope someone will take me next year so we can be there, touching, holding, hugging the children, being of service. That's what we want to do.
Did you hear that, Marcel?
He's right here.
I know he will, and that's great. And that's something really we need to do, and it's collaboration. Rudy is here too. Thank you, Rudy, and thank you, Sunshine, for sharing that for only $20, $20, my friends. It's, if you go to the movie theater today, that's pretty much how much, and you're going to spend actually much, much more. And you're talking about saving lives, bringing them relief, bringing them dignity. For us, it's everything. It's everything. Okay? So Andrea and I are here today to discuss with you the ultimate lesson on peacemaking skills. Because as the Peace for Peace song goes by, peace begins where? It begins with us. Emmanuel wrote a message, chapter 147 of the book Living Spring. Seek refuge in peace. And he's going to tell us precisely where to get it. I'm going to ask our dear Andrea to begin reading this message. Andrea, if you want to read throughout the whole message and then we talk about it, it's up to you. If you want to break it down in installments, like read a little bit and we pause, it's up to you as well, okay?
Sure. I wanted to ask for permission, because two things pretty amazing happened this week. Early this week, I like to do readings from Our Daily Bread, usually when I'm at ADC of America volunteering or when I'm home. And the message that I opened actually was the second part of that Gospel of Mark, which I'm going to mention a little bit later on. But as soon as you told me the lesson, Seeking Refuge in Peace, I remembered a very special passage in the book, Paul and Stephen, which is also a book that is highly recommended for reading for Christians everywhere, or none, just to know a little bit more about the history behind Saul of Tarsus, the one who defended the old law, and then Paul of Tarsus, the one who converted and became such a great disseminator of the good news. But there is a specific part in the very first part of the book in which Stephen is giving out this beautiful sermon, or talking about the good news in such a way that it was encouraging and bringing the notion of peace as established by Christ. And Saul was present, feeling a little bit irritated because he felt that the good news was actually a threat. And he couldn't really understand, and he saw it as a danger, how this new doctrine could cause an issue with mainstream Judaism. And so in the middle of it all, he stands up, very courageous, as it was his character, and he says, "Where is the sense in this strange and absurd doctrine? How dare you proclaim the false supremacy of an obscure Nazarene over Moses, right here in Jerusalem itself, where the destiny of the invincible tribes of Israel is being decided? Who was this Christ? Was he not a simple carpenter?" And Stephen's answer gives me goosebumps today. He says, "It is fortunate that the Messiah was a carpenter, for humankind will no longer be without shelter. In fact, he was the shelter of peace and hope. Never again will we wander aimlessly in the storms or in the wake of chimerical ideas of so many who live by calculation without the clarity of sentiment." And just to bring this paragraph, talking about how the carpenter brought us this shelter of peace and hope, he's talking about something that is very profound, that has everything to do with this message from Emmanuel.
Mm-hmm.
So he begins, there were so many who were coming and going that they did not even have time to eat. And this is found in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 6, verse 31. And Emmanuel starts explaining the Master's invitation to his disciples to seek an isolated place in order to rest their minds and hearts in prayer is becoming more and more appropriate. And rightfully so. As you presented, I was thinking to myself how up-to-date and modern this message truly is for us right here, right now. And regardless of any chaos that we see going out in the world, we have to keep in mind that at times we allow this chaos to come inside our world. And there is a lot of clutter and our mind can't think straight. And it seems as if we can't find peace. We can't put our thoughts together. We become frustrated. And needless to say, all of the other issues that come about, this lack of adjustment, spiritually, physically, and mentally speaking, we feel often pretty lost.
Yes.
And so he continues on saying, "Earth's roads are filled with those who are coming and going, tormented by immediate interests, but finding no time to receive spiritual nourishment. Countless people travel the pathway in their hunger for wealth, only to return overwhelmed in disillusionment. Many others seek adventures, eager for excitement, only to return inflicted with destructive boredom." So just thinking about what he's talking about here, finding no time to receive spiritual nourishment. Emmanuel stated in another message that we read that had everything to do with this, that in reality, what we do seek for ourselves is the thirst for something divine, something that would nourish us, to give us balance. Because more often than not, we end up feeling maladjusted in the world, as if we don't belong sometimes. And so this idea that he's calling for us to receive some kind of spiritual nourishment doesn't necessarily only have to do with religion or going to church or going to the spiritual center once a week. It's a lot more profound than that.
It's very interesting you're pointing out to this. First, because that's Kardec Radio's motto, nourish your soul.
That's it.
No, but as you said, it's besides it, it's about this daily habit of nourishing ourselves by really learning to connect. And here, Andrea, that's why we make this moment very practical for those who are with us. I know everybody who is connected with us has recipes on how to feel nourished, spiritually speaking. But let us give some tips on how to do it.
Yeah.
For, we often talk about breathing in and out, and people think it's a physical and physiological. It's not. As Dr. Herbert Benson has showed to us, when we're saying a prayer, we enter a different, not only state of mind, but physically speaking, we slow down. We enter a different rhythm of breathing, which is going to switch our physiological measures. The parasympathetic system is going to be turned on, which is the soothing and calming part of us. So then we start feeling calmer. So physically, there is an effect when I say I'm going to stop and read a book. I'm going to stop right now and listen to a message. I'm going to stop right now and instead of watching this news, I am going to send a message to somebody whom I think may be in need of kindness, of love, occupying our time usefully
That's it.
is a way to nourish our souls, right, Andrea?
Yes, and it's interesting that you say this because a lot of times we have people who seek us to try to find out how they can better balance their lives. And we read a lot about meditation, we read a lot about all that you said. Some people have great recipes for finding that, but sometimes it just doesn't work. So we tell people that one of the things that we find would help is trying to calm the thoughts. And, well, but I can't read a book because I can't follow it. So read out loud. Read the same paragraph over and over until your mind gets readapted to thinking about what you're reading, getting into that moment. And that's something that we find that people have a lot of hard time doing that. Seeking refuge in the space that is your own. And Joanna de Angeli talks about that beautifully. She says that it is essential for us to take the time to seek inner silence. Inner silence is not just not talking. It is being mindful of our thoughts. And she says, how can we seek a well-lived life? How can we seek to live according to what we are supposed to be doing and fulfilling if we are not going inside in this process of self-discovery and trying to find out how we are feeling and why we are thinking or feeling the way we do? So it's really important that we take the time to do this, just that, seek what works for us in this process of seeking refuge, so we find inner peace. And that's something that is very private and individual. What works for me may not work out for you. But there's so many beautiful tools available today, right, Vanessa, that we have.
No, I love what you said about trying to find this refuge where we are in our daily lives. So Emmanuel says in the book Thought and Life, seek the good, feel the good, visualize the good, mold the good with all the resources you can where you are. We need to do this right now. Look at Chico Xavier. Chico Xavier, he rooted himself so deeply in the community where he was that, like a tree, if you don't have deep roots, you don't become a very big, fruitful tree. Look at Divaldo. He first rooted himself in the community, the local, and then he was able and is able to date to bring all these fruits around. The same for Chico Xavier and many others, the Dalai Lama and Thich Nhat Hanh and Monja Coen in Brazil. And people The thing is, we need to find this good where we are, as Andrea is saying. That's the refuge, because the refuge is pleasant, not for the senses, but for the inner. It's not pleasant, oh, I need a big house with the ultimate furniture. No, no, no. It's to find the beauty and the good where we are. And if we do so, Emmanuel says, we're going to release the shackles we have from our past. So focus on finding the beauty where you are. Right, Raphael? Raphael, we are here, Raphael, thanks to you. We are here too in Charlotte, North Carolina. I have to say hi to Raphael because he helped us so much. We're here, we made it, and hopefully tomorrow will be, if you're in Charlotte, North Carolina, tomorrow there is a beautiful event. They are inaugurating big time their new headquarters that the Charlotte Christian Spirit Center put together. Thank you, Rafael. Thank you, Katia, for being here with us. We love your hearts. It makes us feel better. Right, Andrea?
So he continues, he says, never have there been as many stone places of worship for manifestations of religiosity in the world as there are at the present, and yet never have souls experienced so much disenchantment. Labor laws are reducing working hours as never before, but even so in no other time have there been such anguishing concerns as nowadays. The machines of modern civilization have amazingly decreased human effort. However, unrest is presently culminating in wars of scientific destruction. It is so amazing because he's bringing us all of these issues that has to do with our modern times right now. Even though he wrote this in 1955, correct? You said that? He's talking about everything that is up to date. He says, techniques of economic production have advanced in every area, engineering cotton and wheat in order to increase harvests. But for eyes that contemplate the world landscape, there has never been such a dearth of bread and clothing among incarnates. Social theories of solidarity have improved, but there have never been so much discord. And so it's amazing because he's bringing all of this, and although it seems to be a rather negative point of view, it's not. He's bringing the reality of our world. And the more we dive into this mindfulness that we are more than just this physical body, that we have this experience that is temporary. And although we are in the midst of all of this, and may I add,
Sure.
the distractions that we have that truly keep us occupied with things that truly does not nourish our spirit. And we can utilize social media, for example. It's a very powerful tool nowadays, Vanessa, that I often see people trying to seek refuge in there as if running away from their problems, as if running away from that which is causing them anguish, when the answers lies within themselves. And how often do people contribute to this very busy state of the world that we live in the social media, truly not contributing for the peace that we search, for the peace that we seek. Yes. And so he brings us, he's saying that just as it was the case in the time of Jesus' ministry, the majority of men and women are stuck in their comings and goings between a misguided searching and a false finding of a careless youth and disillusioned old age, of a neglected health and pointless disease, of a wasted incarnation and a despairing discarnation. If we were to stop right now, I am 39 years old. Hopefully I have a lot more years ahead of me. Let's say I'm in the middle of the road and I have a time to stop and reflect upon what Emmanuel is bringing us, right? What are we going after? What are we focusing on? And if I consider myself as an immortal spirit, that I don't take any of this stuff that I'm working so hard for, all this false disillusionment. My God, I wish I could go back 20 years ago and talk to my younger self and say, listen, young one, here's the good road that you can take. Pay attention to these things that matter most, so you don't waste time. And even though they're all positive experiences that make up who we are, we still have time to stop and reflect on this. Reflect about what Emmanuel is telling us. He's saying, if you want to learn from the Divine Master, go to an isolated place and cultivate the interests of your soul. And he's not talking about a physical place, right, Vanessa? He's not. And a lot of people might say, well, am I supposed to walk alone on earth? Am I supposed to be in a solitary state of mind? And the answer is no. He often mentions what is called the silent chambers that is situated within us, a place that is ours alone, that nobody can get to. And that is what he's talking about, going to that place so that Jesus may receive us and offer us the guidance for a better living. That's why this message is so important for us.
Yes, I think you're so right, and especially when you say awareness. And that's why the next series, we're going to start on Monday. This weekend, you guys are off from us, but Monday, we're going to start a journey of 21 days to spiritual translation of the book Voltei. Our team is working on the translation, and we're going to work each and every chapter so people have an opportunity to do exactly what Andreia is mentioning, to awaken deeply. We can't sleep any longer or elude ourselves. As Mentor Joseph often tells me, Vanessa, many lives we've tried everything. This life, we need to do the thing, the right thing. Mm-hmm. There is no time. We have rested enough, more than enough. We have wasted more than enough time. This time we need to, and that's why we're working, and we need to work harder and harder. And it's amazing, Andreia, because all the messages that Chico Xavier received, all of them, and I include Divaldo Franco too, but all the spirits that came through Divaldo and Chico, they repeat, work more. If you are sad, serve more. If you're tired, serve more. If you serve more, it's always like, no, don't rest. Don't take a vacation. Not saying that we're not going to take a vacation, but saying there are people who literally, I was reading in a poetry by Casimiro Cunha in the book Gotas de Luz, which is also under translation. In that book, he says, there are people who want holiday every day. Every day. That's their dream, to be on a holiday every day. But where are we going to get? We have done that in previous lives. So this time around, if we really want to cherish the peace of mind, the true peace, which is the inner, we really need today to serve more, think less of ourselves, and especially, as Jesus said, more of those who are sick, who are in need. We cannot rest knowing that there are people in our circle of family, friendship, community in greater need than ourselves. How can I indulge in suffering when I know that there are many people who need a friend, who need company? How many mothers I know, Andreia, being a mother now, I confess, you know what parents need? Help.
Sleep.
They need sleep. They need help to be with their partners. They need somebody just to be with their kids for an hour or two, because the responsible parents are not going to leave their kids with anybody. Like people say, Vanessa, go to care.com and find somebody. Okay, so you go to care.com and find somebody for your kid. I'm not going to give my kid on the hands of somebody whom I don't know. Mm-hmm. No, and there must be somebody quite special that I trust and that I think to be with Virginia for a while, and any kid that I know, not only Virginia, all the kids deserve this careful and very cautious attitude from parents. But I find out parents, they need a break, and not like 10 hours of break, but like an hour. Sometimes just say, I'm going to watch your kid for an hour. You're going to bring a lot of peace in the homes of in the homes of those who receive that help. That's a charitable attitude. Some people say, but Vanessa, in the US, I don't find that much poverty in the streets to, you know, to give the soup, to help. And I said, but if you go in people's homes, why don't you babysit the children of your friends free of charge?
Yes.
That's charity.
There is a lot of work that can be done. I mean, if we just stop to take a look, I was just mentioning that we were at an event, and I was so busy doing the things that needed to be done. I didn't know how that goes, right? We get into
Yes.
a mind where we have so much going on, and I heard it loud and clear. Stop what you're doing and just look at the person. And I did. And when I did that, the person burst out in tears.
Wow.
Sometimes the benevolent spirits are so careful because they try to find minds that are attuned to being of service. Andreia Lewis, in the book Sex and Destiny, there's a very powerful scene, and I think you're going to remember this, when one of the characters was in an imminent danger, Marita, and
Yes.
it was a very compromising situation between her and her father. And Andreia Lewis was trying to find someone in the area who would be in prayer to receive his intuition, to go and try to make sure that the situation wouldn't develop. And he said it's amazing that there was nobody in prayer, nobody with enlightened thoughts, nobody who was apt to just receive an intuition from above. And how simple it is. If we place ourselves, it's not to say that we are going to be in constant prayer mode, because I like to say that we have the firefight syndrome. We're kind of like fireflies in the night. Our lights go on and off,
Yeah.
on and off. It doesn't stay on very long, but it goes on. It talks about having this ability of being compassionate. And one of the ways that we can develop a sense of peacefulness in people is to acknowledge their existence, acknowledge their pain, acknowledge their need to be heard, to be helped in any way that they can. As if to say, hey, I see you and you're not alone. This is one step that we can contribute for a more peaceful place, where a person is going to say, wow, perhaps this is a location where I can find refuge for the situations that I'm going through. Andreia, Vanessa, whomever may be listening, Katja, I can't see all the people now, but where do you find the ability to have faith in an imminent situation of pain like you do? And so we can tell them where it is. Because Emmanuel will say it's not a physical location that we rest from our tiredness. It's not that. It's something that is our own. And it's funny, the aspect of prayer. I was talking to our study group that we have with our fellow English-speaking participants, and they were talking about having to pray out loud. And I said, sometimes I am filled with so many emotions that I can't verbalize, so I just stay silent, because I know that my spirit guide can't hear my feelings. And this is something that we also can tell people. Sometimes we just need to be silent and let them listen to us so that we can hear what they have to say in return. This is
Right.
important.
Yeah. You're right, Andrea. Yes, you're right. And that's why there's so much going on externally to us, but we're being called to the inner. We're being called to the inner. And I think Emmanuel goes in this message. Andrea is approaching the very core of it, and he tells us exactly how we can cultivate this beautiful inner garden that becomes this peace, refugee of peace. Right, Andrea?
It is so beautiful, so beautiful. It is amazing that he talks about this inner sanctuary that we can develop, this garden that you mentioned, facilitating meditation. And some people feel, I don't know if I can stop whatever I'm doing during the day and go pray. And a simple answer is why not? Why can't you just take a 5-minute break? Go outside. I tell people this all the time. Go outside and look at the sun. Look at the sun, the rays from the sun.
Yes.
Just listen to nature. And you're going to find a moment where you're going to break free from whatever it is that is going on to be able to just relax and listen and breathe like you just did. Because that's something that we also don't take time to do, is breathe and truly be in that moment. And let me tell you something, I don't know about you, I don't know if the people that are listening feel the same way, but if we don't do this, if we don't try to do this at least once a day, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes or an hour, it could. Who here doesn't feel anguish as if something is missing? Right? It's true, it's a nourishment. It's as if you're hungry for something divine, for something that is going to satisfy your soul. And the more we get into the habit of this, the more it becomes easier. For those that are maybe listening to saying, I have a really hard time meditating, I have a hard time stopping, I have a hard time getting my thoughts under control. It's a habit. That's what it is. It's practice and practice until it's part of our nature.
Yes, that's the basis. Andrea Lewis says that in the book Evolution into Worlds. The evolution requires effort and repetition. So as Andrea is saying, make a little effort today and it's going to pay off tomorrow, because when you least expect, it became second nature. And you're like, oh, wow, I'm no longer thinking of those thoughts. Now I'm thinking new thoughts. I feel freer. And that's how it is. It is possible as long as we make an effort. And effort is a natural consequence of the decision of our will. Emmanuel in the book Thought and Life, again, chapter 2, says, will is the supervisor and the manager of our minds, supervisor and manager of all the departments of our minds. Leon Denis is going to say the will is the driving force of the soul. So we need, no wonder, Andrea, Jesus, our loving divine friend, master, governor of the planet, said, peace on earth and goodwill amongst men, humankind. Why? Because we really need to make an effort. We really need to be willing to do good. That's what goodwill is all about.
That's it. And then I was mentioning in the beginning how Mark chapter 6, verse 31, there is a second phrase to the one that we just read, where he says, the end of it is, come with me to a solitary place and rest a little. That's what Jesus invites us to do. Come with me to a solitary place and rest a little. Get away from the commotion of the world that is inevitable right now. Turn Facebook off. Not right now, later. Turn it off. Turn it off. Yeah. WhatsApp groups are such distractions, right? And so sometimes you get engulfed in this world that really, how do you find rest? And when we are constantly finding the distractions beside the work that we have to do, besides the responsibilities that we have to attend to. I don't have children. I used to have my feral cats, but they've long gone already. But for those that have already, we have our commitments, and that's fine. But if we just took a moment to have mental silence, as Joana de Angelis says, she says, it's your own personal space for your identification. It's the secret temple of the soul that you find Jesus in order for him to replenish our exhausted energies. Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
If we are to think about this, we're talking about all the reality of the spirit that we already learned about, right, Vanessa? How prayer really, what you said in the beginning, how it has an effect on our physical body. So to replenish our energies, and this is what we're talking about. People get discouraged, disillusioned. There is so much pain going on. And sometimes they need this place away. They need to find solace. And so what Joanna D'Angeli and Emmanuel and all of these beautiful spirit authors that we have at our hands, at our disposal, like our own personal counselors, if we will,
Yeah.
right? Free of charge. None
Yes.
of them are charging us. They're telling us it's the place where we allow ourselves to get out of the chaos all around us and empower ourselves so that we can continue on, even when the difficulties arise, because they will. It's inevitable. It's a world of transitioning phase. I love that. I don't no longer say trials and expiations. We're talking about a transitioning phase because that's what we are.
Yes.
And we have
Yes.
a role. We have a role in this phase, right, Vanessa?
Yes, you're right. And as Adilson is quoting here, we're also in sync. He's saying, let's empower the goodwill of our brothers and sisters by reaching the divine in their hearts. And Rita Di Cassia, you wait up because your question is going to be answered right now as Andrea reads the most important paragraphs of this message. I think it's going to go to the core of our questions, right, Andrea?
So there are many sentiments within you that have stimulated you for centuries, imitating the coming and goings of the multitude. These sentiments rush from your heart to your brain, from your brain back to your heart, always the same sentiments, incapable of accessing the light of the Spirit. These are the imagined principles of peace, justice, love, and happiness that the realm of the flesh impose on you. They may even be useful under certain circumstances of the transitory experiences. However, do not live exclusively alongside them. They would exert a hellish captivity over you. Seek refuge in that isolated temple within your soul, for only there you will find true notions of the peace, justice, love, and happiness for which the Lord has destined you. So beautiful. So beautiful.
This is about the feelings that generate ideas, as Emmanuel says. There are many feelings that we have, you know, even André Luiz in the book Mecanismos da Mediunidade, not yet in English, he says we need to observe to the mental inductors what triggers feelings and thoughts that will create these habits in us. So we need to study ourselves to observe what triggers those old impulses, what Kardec mentions in the Spirit's book as the instinctive tendencies. So we need to observe and change it. If I know every time somebody, for example, you remember the movie Back to the Future. The main character, I forgot his name, Martin? Yeah,
Marty,
was it?
Marty.
Marty. Yeah, Marty, he was like every time the other bad guy called him a coward or something, chicken,
Chicken.
he really, right, he got himself out of, he lost everything. So if we know there is a particular mental inductor or a scenario that triggers that old conditioning, we need to study a different way to reply, to respond to it. And best of all, as Andrea said, coach ourselves with our personal trainer, Jesus, when he taught us not to react. That's the goal. He's teaching us. He's saying, do not react. Like, no, do not react. Leave it alone.
Hard. I mean, that's really hard sometimes, but it's true.
Right?
That's what he's saying.
Right? Andrea, one of the funniest, dramatic, but funny stories that I read by Umberto de Campos through Jesus, we did in our 40 days with the master, etc., was when I was impressed that Jesus was talking to Peter, explaining why he managed in such a way that the woman was not going to be stoned. And Peter couldn't understand. He was enraged. He was furious. And Jesus kept himself calm. And then a woman is overhearing them. and asks Peter. So she knows that the master is the master and Peter's the apprentice. But she wants to talk to Peter and says, Peter, let me tell you, that woman that was not stoned was my niece. Her mother is my sister. She, she, she was helping us in the market because we need to survive. But then this man came out of the blue and assaulted her, and she was defending herself. But because she was resistant to him, he slandered her, saying that she was what she was not. And that's when people started, willing, and that's what happens. People hear stories, they don't verify, and they start just getting into this mob feeling. And she was almost stoned to death. And then Peter turns his anger to this possible man. He's like, and Jesus is quiet. He knows the end of the story. But he doesn't manipulate anybody. He is like the loving and kind friend and educator who is there silent. And he waits. He waits and waits. And Peter's like, who is this man? And she's like, he's there in their house. And everybody goes to the house. When he opens the door, he recognizes the man. The man is almost a relative to him. Is a young man who was almost like an adopted son of his mother-in-law. Now he was almost touching like the core, like the untouchable mother-in-law field. But when he saw it, he couldn't breathe anymore. Umberto de Campos described that he felt so shocked. He turned to Jesus almost like a child. So Peter is like us, reacting without thinking, without reasoning. Reacting, and seeing that each and every reaction doesn't make any sense. And then he turns to Jesus like us. What do I do now? And then Jesus, who followed without reacting, as you said, Andreia, practicing this important silence that creates peace, embraces Peter and says, Peter, remember when I mentioned to you that we need to be careful when we're judging people. So there we have our beautiful personal trainer, the ultimate one, the personal trainer of our souls, Jesus, the divine friend, telling us, go to your inner refuge and do not allow the world to control your emotions, because you don't know the reasons why people are doing X, Y, Z.
And it's interesting that you say this, because I think that we truly start learning about this, unfortunately, when we experience the pain of judgment, of slander, and we seek this inner refuge as if to defend ourselves from the world. So two things that we must be very aware is to no longer partake in anything that may promote the pain that we have felt by the acts that promotes, whether it's physical, verbal, spiritual, or mental violence that often we contribute when we. I loved what Adilson is always promoting peace in everything he does. I adore him. He's one of the kindest souls. He's talking about empowering the good into our brothers and sisters, and this is what I'm talking about. Because when we go in to seek refuge after we've felt the pain of judgment and whatever, we have a responsibility to come out of this refuge feeling more peaceful and trying to promote it as well for our brothers and sisters. And through the actions, really. And this is something that we have to be mindful. Bezerra de Menezes tells us that it is no longer possible for us to take steps backwards. We can't look back to what we were. We've embarked on a journey that is extremely important. And even if we wanted to try, if you will, you can't go back to how you were. The lessons that start really finding a place in your heart and soul, they stay there imprinted. It's part of who we are.
Yes.
And unless we are able to put forth the things that we are learning, then really we are just in the midst of all the commotion that the message mentions without finding peace in this refuge that we have, and also not paying attention to the responsibilities that we have to promoting a more peaceful world. And not only just staying the inner refuge of ourselves and not sharing, but being active peacemakers is what we're talking about. And small things. We can utilize Facebook with great messages. We can silence political issues that is happening. There's enough of that out there. But what there isn't enough of are peaceful, loving messages, things that beautify our days. How we can contribute with so little, just posting something that is very positive, because sometimes that's a person, that's all they have to see is the contact on Facebook. They have no friends, no family. They're engulfed in negativity, and they open Facebook and find a message by Emmanuel such as this one. It empowers them and makes them feel divine, like a child of God that they are. And so we have a true responsibility on how we become messengers of all that we have, all of these books that we have at our hands. So do we want to follow the master? We do. And even though we're Peter's, most of the times, Jesus saw Peter and to see me as well. And that's the most beautiful part of it. And we have to believe in that to be able to reach it sooner.
Yes, you're right, Andrea. So, the exercises here are so many. But as incarnated beings, Andrea mentioned it, let's begin where we are. God is so good. There is even a children's song that says the following: God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. He's so good to me. It's a mantra. We need to affirm it, to feel it. As Jesus said to Nicodemus, it's not enough to know the scriptures. We need to feel them. And if God is so good, we know if God is today allowing us to have X resources and not 10 times more, it's because God is saying, all you need now is this X. It's the best you can have because there's so much good in you and you don't need to be distracted with more. If we have 2 pens, we'll be confused which pen we're going to write. If we have 1 pen, we immediately pick up the pen and start writing. So there is a time on the earth when we cannot waste anymore our time with many options. So let us take this step into embracing the gifts of God in our lives and appreciating, seeking the good where we are. Don't think the good is in Hawaii. The United States. If you're in the United States, don't think it's in Brazil. Many immigrants suffer because they always seek the good elsewhere, when they should actually, all the research, scientific and even spiritual, they show if we appreciate ourselves where we are and seek the good where we are, we're always going to be happy. And that terminates the conflicts of being an immigrant, because who is not an immigrant, even in the same country? And talking about this, Andrea, it's this affirmation we need to say to ourselves to achieve peace. God is good. And I know I have to progress. But right now, this love for God is enough for me. I don't need to be anxious about being super tomorrow, Wonder Woman, Superman. I am happy today, even if I'm not yet a Christ spirit. But inside of me, I'm happy because I am awakened. I know that I'm destined to achieve this communion, this permanent communion with God. I will no longer feel abandoned. And that's when we find peace and we find that the will of God is our goal.
That's it. That's it.
right? Fernanda Barros, you told us such a beautiful story yesterday about your mom who left everything to take care of your sister. And later, when your sister discarnated, she communicated and said so much gratitude to your mom and thank you because the will of God shall be the the goal for all of us. So, what does God want for us? That you love yourself. I love and approve myself, irrespective of the past, as Andrea said, irrespective of the future, because for God there is no past nor future. God already sees us whole. We are the ones who have this limitation. We should practice also seeing people in our lives in the same way, looking at them in a more holistic view and seeing them in the essence, as Andrea mentioned, the key expression, child of God. Andrea, inevitably, because we are wrapping up these 10 days of exercises on peacemaking skills, we're going to play the piece for peace.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, we we have been playing every night, and tonight, just to make sure I don't use the same computer, I'm gonna play through the phone into the microphone, hoping that the sound's gonna be good enough for people to sing. And this shall be webcast everywhere. Adilson is already doing his share. He is already playing here the lyrics. Okay, this just for those who haven't heard this before. This is from a recording in 2012 by the Steve Shepard with Marco Magalhães and our current teenagers at the Spiritist Society of Baltimore in our event in Pennsylvania in tribute to Selenia, the Spiritist view on cancer. Actually, if you go to Spiritist Network, you can watch all the talks, including Haroldo Dutra Dias' talk in that event. And one of the songs there was this one. That's where this recording was played. Okay? Ready, Andrea?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
He's in the world, begins with me. When I choose love, inside I'm truly happy. When we are kind to one another, we know true love and greatness in our hearts. The time has come for building peace on earth. We don't believe in the lack of love. Peace for peace. To our children, peace for peace. Our forests, peace for peace. And for the courage to transform.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Peace for peace. In truth and justice, peace for peace. And in a freedom, peace for peace. And in the beauty of loving you. Peace in the world begins with me. When I choose love, inside I'm truly happy. When we are kind to one another, we know true love and greatness in our hearts. The time has come for building peace on earth. We don't believe in the lack of love. Peace for peace. To our children, peace for peace. For our forests, peace for peace. And for the courage to transform. peaceful peace. In truth and justice, peaceful peace. And in freedom, peaceful peace. And in the beauty of loving you, peaceful peace. For our world, peaceful peace. In faith and hope, peaceful peace. And for the courage to transform, peaceful peace. In truth and justice,
Inner freedom of loving you.
peaceful peace. Peaceful peace.
In truth and justice. Não fica aqui, pode ficar. Aí você fala tchau.
So adorable.
Here we are. Okay, hold on a second. No, we're not done yet. Yes. So thank you, Andrea, so much for us in this important day when we are really preparing for a new era on the earth. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you for allowing me to participate. Virginia, you look so grown up, so big.
Say
Hi.
thank you. Say. Say thank you, tia Andrea. So,
Posso escutar?
pode. Okay, friends. So, God bless everybody and enjoy. Enjoy. Thank you, Andrea. In 2 days, on Monday, we're going to start the series on the 21 days to spiritual awakening at 11 p.m., talking about the book Voltei. I came back, and it's not about Schwarzenegger. Thank you. Bye-bye, friends.
Good night, guys. Good night.